Yo, what's going on, guys? It's me, Skaterlunatic. Welcome back to another video. And today I'm actually going to be teaching you how I actually edit some of my photos in Lightroom CC Classic, or whatever you want to use. I mean, you can use this in the new Lightroom, or if you want to use this in Photoshop, you can. I'm not too sure how to edit it this way in those, but hey, we all have our own preferences. So if you're able to somehow mimic it, more good to you, man. With that being said, I have a certain photo. I'm gonna just show how I kind of edited it. Try to copy what I did, because I do have presets for this all. This is personally how I edit my photos. Obviously, everyone has their own editing style, so don't hate me for how I edit my photos, because this is how I like my photos personally. And obviously, some of the clients like it that way. So without further ado, guys, let's just get into this video and let's get a little bit of a editing photo tutorial going. Alright guys, so I currently have the photo I want open. I kind of showed some of the previews at the intro, but this is the one I'm personally gonna work on, and I showed you the before and after, and this is what we're gonna start with. So as you can see, I already kind of did some cool stuff to this. I mean, as you can see, it looks a lot different than it probably before I edited it, obviously, but there's quite a few things that didn't really stand out until I started editing. So let me go to the second photo, which is a copy of the original. As you can see, the biggest thing that I did is I cropped a lot of the photo. I like centering my subject as much as possible and making it straight as possible. So I always try and auto align if possible, or angle it if I need to. Put the subject center in the center. If I'm going for a headshot, obviously I'm going to put them center box, so that way it's the main focus. But if not, I am going to try to keep them in the center like this, and that allows whoever is looking, or let's say they're on Instagram and it's a box instead, if they post it as a box, they're still going to be centered no matter how they put it. And that's a big thing for me, to making sure that people are able to post their photos where they want, and they don't have to worry about cropping. From there, what I did, excuse me, let me go to the next one. What I usually do, and this is like the biggest thing for me when I edit my photos, is it's all about, for me, this right here, these three right here. And usually what I do is I'll crank up the texture, crank down this, and I'll take the dehaze down. And literally, as you can see, just from the background, right, we don't even have to look at the person, but literally the haze is what I go for. Because if you turn off the clarity, it makes it too hazy, and it makes, like them not have any kind of texture. So if I turn it down to, like, let's say a negative 75, and then I turn up the texture to like 95, you can see they still have texture on their face. And if I dehaze it a bit, it'll allow it to where they actually have some defined textures on their face, and they won't look as, I guess, bland. And literally, let me just see, I add a lot of grain. That's another thing you're gonna see. I like to add grain personally, that's just my own thing. But just like that right there, that already helps out, especially with the background lighting. It makes it seem more dinery, which is what I was going for. And usually from here, what I'll do is I adjust the temperature. So I wanted more of a bluish green, which is what I went for. So I put it to about -7, the green to about, I would say, 14. Maybe I wanted a little bit bigger like that. And it already gives it more of a better vibe. And that's usually what I go for, depending on what it is. If it's outside, I'll go for more, can I put it, warmer colors. If it's inside, I'll go for bluer. That's just personally how I like to do it. If anything, I might put it to 10, just to give the sign back here a little bit less bluish, but I'll up the green a tiny bit more. And boom, that already kind of mimics what we had in this one. As you can see, it's a lot greener in here, but this is already like standing out pretty good. Oop, there we go. It keeps switching, my bad guys. I don't know why I keep clicking the wrong thing on accident. From there, it's really just adjustments of color, of vibrance, saturation, and grain. So usually I like my highlights to be a little bit bright, so I'll bump up the highlights, turn down the whites so the haze isn't so crazy, and then I will turn down the blacks, up the shadows a tiny bit, and it just basically makes it to where it's more of a, kind of put it like a curve to the shadows and the highlights. And also, like, it helps, especially if it's like this, like her face kind of is dark, right? So if I put it back to how it was, like, there wasn't too much, right? You could see like it, but if I just go back, you can now see like there's actual shadows there. There's actually something there. And if anything, I'll put it to 0.9 and maybe turn the blacks up just a tiny bit. So that way, you know, it's not as dark, but obviously I try to make it a certain way. I mean, the only thing I'd probably try to fix, I think that's her makeup though, is right here. And that would be like, yeah, that's her makeup. So there's nothing to fix there. And for me, I like turning down the saturation a lot and then turning up the vibrance. So I'll put it usually to like -25 to -15. And then if anything, I'll put the vibrance way up here, like literally way up there. But not for this one. I'm going to put it to like 23. And basically that makes it to where it's not as saturated. It makes it more kind of filmy. It makes it more pastel color, which is what I usually like. Especially like if you look up here at the Pez dispensers that are all up here, they all kind of have more of a muted tone. As you can see, it's not as bright, but it still has a vibrance to it, which I like a lot in my photos. And obviously what we're going to do is we're going to crop it. I'm going to click auto. And if it's good, I'm literally just gonna kind of position her, boom, bada bop, get her centered, get it evened out, and then there we go. I mean, it already is looking really nice. The only thing, and I think it's just a personal preference for real on this one, is I always go to detail, add a tiny bit of sharpening, add mess with the radius a bit. It really depends on what you want, and I add a little bit more detail just to sharpen up the face a bit, or like the details of something. And then I always forget where it's at. I think it's effects. There it is my grain, my baby grain. This is my favorite thing, and I usually put it to like 50. As you can tell from the first one, I like my grain a lot, and it can kind of get in the way. But if I'm trying to go for a more subtle grain, I'll take it to like a max 20, maybe 25, and keep the size very small and the roughness up there. And it gives it more of a 35mm grain in photos, and like the difference is there. So if I turn it off, it looks like that. If I turn it on, it gives it a little bit more detail in general, and you're able to see it like wherever you go. So I go to like this chair, you can see like there's a little bit more here, and it looks almost like it was taken with a 35mm, which I think is awesome because I do have a 35mm, and so my photos kind of turned out this way, just obviously not as high definition. If you wanted to, I would dehaze it a little bit more, maybe just get rid of kind of out here, unless, you know, obviously if that's what you want, then you do you. I'm just gonna crank it down a bit, maybe turn the clarity down a little bit more to make it, you know, even more blurry, the light more blurry. Because now, see, this is what I mean though, like if I turn up the texture and just don't do the clarity, it looks like this, and I hate how it looks. It looks like, I don't know how to put it, like overly edited, and I hate it. But with this, it makes it nice and crispy and clear, and it looks more like a millimeter, you know, like I keep saying, a 35mm photo, and I love how it looks like that. And I guess the last thing, if you guys want to do it, is add a blur, or if you wanted to obviously go in and mask and make sure the skin color's all good, obviously do that. Do what you need to do for your photos. If anything, you might want to change the exposure, or if you want to add exposure, like add 0.9 and add a little bit more contrast, you can, and that'll just make it to where everything's a little bit more poofed out. But basically, guys, that is how I edit my photos in Lightroom. I mean, if I go to my website, you'll be able to see a lot more of what I mean. So guys, I'm now at my website, and this is kind of what I mean when I say I try to edit my photos a certain way. So I actually like used one of these presets on her, Aaliyah, and this is kind of how they turned out. As you can see, like the photos are still really high quality. They're big boys. If I open up the photo on its own, let me go back to it and open it up in a new image. I mean, look at this detail that you're able to get because of this. You're able to get like tons of detail. You can see like things on the lips. You can see like all that. And that's why I personally edit my photos the way I do. I like that millimeter look. I don't know, it's just like the style I really enjoy. I really like, you know, going with. And I did the same thing. Every time I take photos, I try to take them a little bit different. I mean, obviously kind of the same, but editing a little bit different. Like for this one, I enhanced the highlights a ton, so that way the pastel colors kind of blew out, and you can see like I added a lot of grain on this one. Like you could just tell from even when it's like this, like I added some grain and added it to make the pastels kind of pop and the blues. But this is how I personally edit, guys. I obviously, you know, change it depending on what the photo kind of needs. As you can see, even like just these photos, each one kind of turned out different. Like this one almost looked like an actual 35mm with how bright it is and like the flash almost on the eyes. With that being said, guys, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. That is how Skaterlunatic edits his photos for what he does as a photographer. And thank you guys so much for watching until the end. If you did enjoy this, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below if you enjoyed and you want to see more. And obviously comment down below what you might want to see, so I know I can put it to the list that I have. Without further ado, guys, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.